Hello everyone, it's Octodraws, and welcome to Lesson 7, Declension of A stems continued. Lupes iatros estin anthropois lagos. In reason, men find a physician for their grief. This sentence is a little bit difficult. I have some extra translations down here just to make it a little bit easier. So if you want a little bit more of a literal translation, you can say that reason, logos, estin is, iatros, the healer, lupes, of grief, anthropois for men. If you want to use a dative of possession, you can say that humans have reason as a healer of mental anguish. 36. Feminines in alpha. If epsilon, iota, or rho immediately precedes the final vowel of the stem, words of the alpha declension have alpha, not eta, throughout the singular. As you can see here, micra and stratia have a rho and an iota. Therefore, they're going to have this alpha instead of an eta. He micra stratia, the small army. Then here it shows you how to decline it, and in like manner it wants you to inflect he pilia cora. You don't really have to do that, but it wants you to do mikros, axios, and all genders. Again, not entirely necessary. 37. Accusative of extent. The accusative denotes extent of space or duration of time. So when you see an accusative, you can think either space or time, and linguistically and grammatically, space and time function the exact same way in ancient Greek. Here it gives you an example, and it says dioxe tous polemius decastadius. So he will pursue dioxe, the enemy, tous polemius, and then you can add in for decastadius, for 10 states, or decahemeras, which is for 10 days. When you're translating the accusative extent, use the word for. Think of accusative of extent like a line with borders like this, where it's not happening at a single point, but over a duration. 38. Vocabulary. Agora, as, he, market, marketplace. For an etymology, it gives you agoraphobia, meaning agora, a public space, phobia, the fear. It's also where you can buy lemonade. Arche, es, he, beginning, rule, province. Deca, meaning 10, and it gives you the Decalogue as an example. So deca, 10, log, logos, the 10 commandments. Dia, preposition with genitive. Through, with the accusative, it means on account of, or because of. For etymology, it gives you diameter, and dia, meaning through which, and then meter, meaning just a kind of measurement. So, a measurement through the middle of a circle. Epitedeos, on, fit, suitable. So, anything that is appropriate. Ta epitedea, provisions. So when you see epitedeos as a substantive noun in the plural, it means provisions. Hemera, as, he, de. It gives you ephemeral as an example. So here you have epi, meaning for, and since there's a rough breathing mark, as you see right there, it gets absorbed into epi, and that turns this P into a phi right there. Stratia as he, army. So it's just like strategas, it has the same root. Pilia as he, friendship. And just like pilos, it has the same root. Pilios, on, friendly. So this is it in an adjective form. And then kora as he, country. But it's a little bit bigger than just a country. It can also just be any land or any place. 39. Exercises. Ein he agora epitedea tai stratiae. So you see what kind of looks like a semicolon? You know that that's actually a question mark. So you know this is going to be a question. So ein was, he agora, the agora, useful, epitedea. Then when you see an adjective and you see an accusative, you say useful for the army. The army being tai stratiae. Hypulakai pugusi dia tu pediu. Hypulakai, the guards. Pugusi are fleeing, dia plus genitive, so through the plain. 3. Etelete gar ten stration agen decastadius. So etelete, because you have this eta ending, you know that it's you plural, so y'all want. See this verb, you should expect some kind of infinitive. So here it is, agen, so you want to lead, ten stration, the army, and then decastadius, accusative of extent, as we just learned, for 10 states. 4. Tai decomai, uk ein ta epitedea. So de meaning but, then because you have a be verb with a dative, you know that this is going to be a dative of possession. So the village had uk, no, ta epitedea, provisions, because it's in the accusative plural as a noun. 5. Kai ten stration, agamen dia tes agoras. So kai, and or even, agamen, we lead, so we even lead. Look for our accusative, the army, ten stration, dia tes agoras, dia plus genitive is through, so through the market. 6. Dia ten pilian, akusin agoran, kai ta epitedea. When you have dia in accusative, accusative, you know that it's because of. So because of tein pilion, the friendship, ekusin, they have agoran, a market, kai, and ta epitedea, the provisions. 7. He distratia pilia ein tai archai. So de, but, and then you see it. He stratia pilia ein. He stratia, the army, ein, was, pilia, beloved, tai archai, at the beginning because it's dative. If it was accusative, this at would be for. However, it is dative, therefore it's at. 8. Tan de delpon, pempe, ace tain koran. Pempe, he sends, tan adelpon, his brother, ace plus accusative, into the country. And here it gives you a nice little picture of the gate of Athena Archegetus. As you can see, I've been there. I've been almost everywhere in this book. It's amazing. And somehow they included my picture in it. B, complete. 1. He de come epitedea ein toi strategoi. Our subject has to be he come. This cannot be strategos because this would be ha, making this have to be dative. Epitedea has to have the same gender, case and number as come, and it's feminine singular. Therefore, you have this a ending. It has to be singular right here. And you know that it's dative because when you have an adjective like this, you should be expecting a dative. 2. Deca hemeran. He stratia ein entai agorai. So the army, that's our nominative, was. Then you have a preposition right here, so you know that's going to take a dative because en only has dative, tai agorai. So the army was in the agora, deca hemeron, accusative of extent. 3. Pempe de ta epitedea tois pilois. So he sends pempe. Whenever you send, you usually send something, so you should expect an accusative. So ta epitedea, the provisions, tois pilois. I know it's going to be dative because you will usually send something to somebody. C, write in Greek. The messenger had a horse. This wants you to use ein, so you're going to use a dative of possession. So toi angeloi is your possessor, ein ha hippos. And you know that horse is going to be your nominative because it's dative of possession. 2. The truce was long. The truce translates to high spondai because spondai in the plural means truce. Was, you kind of have to translate as a son, which is kind of like were because spondai has to be plural. Long, makrai. And makrai have the same gender, case, and number as spondai, therefore it's feminine nominative plural. 3. The men in the village are not guarding the tents. So the men, which could be either hoi or hoi anthropoi, in the village, you know this is going to have a prepositional phrase. En, the village, has to be in the dative because en only takes a dative. Tai komai are guarding pulatusi, then not u, the tense and the accusative because it's the direct object, it's what they're guarding. Tas skenas. Hoi en tai komai u pulatusi tas skenas. 4. The flight was not evident to the general. The flight nominative he puge was ein, not u, evident dele, because it has to be the exact same gender, case, and number as puge to the general. Toi strategoi. This 2 is a dead giveaway that it's going to be dative. 5. The garrison did not have tents. Here it tells you to use a son, so you have to use another dative of possession. So the garrison is our subject dative or our possessor dative. So tai pulakai, it says use a son, so obviously you have to put in a son, not ooh, and put a kappa at the end of this if you put it before a son, so they did not have, and then tense because the thing being possessed is going to be in the nominative, hai skenai. Remember that it's going to be skenai because tense is plural, so not skene. The Acropolis. And as you can see, I've been here too. Although many Greek cities had a fortified hill or acropolis, most people associate that word with the famous hill in the heart of Athens. At first, the home of the early kings, it became to be devoted to the gods and heroes of the state. Its glorious temples were visible from the agora, as indeed for miles around in all directions. What it's saying here is that, from here, you could see up there, and it was very big. 40. Word formation. A very common means of forming adjectives is by adding the stem of a noun, the suffix ios, ia, ion, which appears frequently in English as ian. Omicron stems drop the omicron before the suffix. Alpha stems retain the alpha to form the diphthong I. So it's telling you that the second declension drops the omicron before the suffix when you're making a noun into an adjective. And you can see here, you take your root pilos, then you add the suffix, which is this iota, and then it becomes an adjective. And here, you can see the same thing. You go to the first declension and you say atenai. You know that this I is the ending, so aten is your root. Then After that, you add your suffix, which is alpha iota, and then you know that it's an Athenian. When you make a noun into an adjective, it retains an iota as a suffix, as you can see right there and right there. But when you're in the first declension, or the alpha declension, you keep this alpha, so you have the alpha and iota suffix. I wish that it gave you a singular one, so I'll give you one myself. And you have hemera, meaning a day. Hemera is your root, so you remove this alpha, and then you have hemera as your root, and you add the alpha iota suffix, and now it's going to be an adjective. Hemeraios, day-ish, or day-like, daily. B, from dikaios and polemios, construct the corresponding nouns. From hippos and agora, construct the corresponding adjectives. What you do is you find your root, and you have dik, remove this, and then you have to guess either eta or alpha, but in this case, I'm going to tell you that the word is dk, where you take this delta iota kappa root, and then you add an eta. There's no real way for you to know that it's going to be an eta or an alpha, so you just kind of have to guess. I wish that it didn't make you do this, because you're very rarely going to see things change from adjectives into nouns. Instead, it's going to be nouns into adjectives, which is a lot more common. And then you can do the same thing with polemios. The root here is polem, and then you remove this eos, bring it down here, and then add the os ending, removing that iota suffix. And then from hippos and agora, make them into adjectives, which is going to be a lot more common. And this one is easier, and you don't have to guess. So hippos, what you do is you find your root, hip, get rid of that ending, and then add an iota right there. So hip, your root, eos, hippios, horse-ish. Then with agora, you do the same thing. Find your root, agor, remove this ending of the alpha, add the suffix I, and then you have agoraios, meaning citizenly. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. Remember, have a good one, be positive, be yourself, peace.